guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video I am going to show you how to make some cake pops. So this is less of a recipe and more of a tutorial. For the cake pops what you're going to need is some leftover cake. I'll use my just plain sponge recipe which I will link down in the description below. I'm also adding a salted caramel filling and I'm going to coat both of my different types of cake pop in cooking or already tempered chocolate. So these are the first cake pops that I make. These are a little bit more rustic, they look a bit more homemade, but I probably prefer the sort of consistency and the texture of these ones. So all I've done is I have lined my semicircle tray with my cake mixture that has been mixed with some buttercream, and I have made a little dent in each of the semicircles that I can fill with some salted caramel. Then they want to go into the fridge for at least 10 minutes, and once they're out you can start pairing up your semicircles to make a sphere. And all you need to do is sort of run your finger around the edges of the semicircles just to try and smoothen out and join those together. What I do then is I then put them back in the fridge for 10 minutes, and what I also did was just to make as many spheres as possible using just the one mat. Whilst they're in the fridge cooling for the final 10 minutes, what you want to do is you want to melt some baking chocolate, or you can use normal chocolate, but just be much more careful when you're melting it to not burn it and things like that. And then the way I do it is probably the most rustic way. It doesn't give off a perfect finish every time, but I do prefer the amount of coating that it gives you. So I just place this sphere onto a little fork, dunk it in, and then carefully try and prise the sphere off of the fork. I then pop it onto a baking tray and let the excess chocolate run off onto the silicone mat that I place underneath. You could just place it straight onto the mat, however that's going to give you a sort of like foot at the bottom of your sphere, which I don't like as much, but I suppose it probably would work because you can trim it. Do whatever you want to do. This is what I just tried this day, and I was really happy with how it turned out. You want to let these cool, so you can either cool them at room temperature for a little while and then put them into the fridge, or you can put them straight into the fridge. It's completely up to you. But then they should last in the fridge for up to 2 weeks. So these are the other type of cake pops that I also do. So for these ones you've got the moulds, the silicone moulds. You just want to put a teaspoon of candy melt or tempered chocolate into each mould, and then I'm just spreading it around with a sort of paintbrush. It's a baking brush, it's not actual paintbrush, don't worry. And you want to put that straight into the fridge for at least 10 minutes. And then I'm just repeating the same on this other mould. If you have a mould like this that has a lot more sort of intricate designs, just make sure that the chocolate is going into each tiny sort of like crack inside of it. Once it's been in the fridge for 10 minutes, you want to repeat that process again. So a teaspoon of chocolate into each mould, and then spread it around as evenly as you can, right up to the edges. You then want to fill each of your moulds with your cake mixture, the same mixture that you used for your other cake pops. And what I also did was I added a sort of sliver of salted caramel down the middle. You want to fill them so that you can still see the candy melts or the chocolate around the edges of the mould. When you add the top layer, you want to set it in the fridge again for another 10 minutes. So it's quite a long process for each one, but if you stagger them with each other, it takes a lot less time. So this is how they should come out outside of the fridge, and you just want to stretch the mould away from the sides of each cake pop, and then it should pop out just like this. See, these come out a lot more sort of structured, a lot glossier, and then what I like to do is I like to just trim the edges of the cake pops just to make them look nice and professional. And with these red ones, because they were such a nice colour, I didn't really want to do too much design on them at all, so what I ended up doing was just spraying some gold like sort of sparkle spray on top, and that looked really, really nice. You can do sort of paint splatters, that's really cool, and mixing different coloured chocolates whilst you're putting them into the mould can have a really nice marble effect as well, so that's definitely worth a try. But I did these at Halloween. These are the ones that I did for Christmas. They're really, really good, really useful, and yeah, they're a lot easier to do than I initially thought they were. And that is how I made those cake pops. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again next week with another one.